I hope it's upheld. I hope that we keep citizenship as it is, by blood. It's a full citizen, so that means I'm above a quarter. And that's also in our Constitution. To hold elected office, you have to be a quarter above. And I've always agreed with that. Of course, there's problems with this new form of tribal government. One thing, when the 1979 Constitution was ratified, they took out the House of Kings and they took out the House of Warriors, and I always thought that was a mistake. But this was never our form of tribal government. It was forced on us. If you look at our history, every treaty was a handful of people to sign it. They were intimidated, bribed, and none of them were upheld, no treaties. And this one that the Freedmen are using to get citizenship, it's in 4 days, it'll be 152 years old. So how far do we go back? Every single one of them has been violated. And like I said, it was always a handful of signers. It was never every town in our Confederacy. When it was the full council, you can look in our history, and they never agreed on any of these treaties. Most of them were land cessions, starting back in Alabama and Georgia, and then up until post-removal, there would have been, I guess, two. One before the 1866 treaty, where Seminoles got their own, they were under the Creek Nation at one time, but that one gave them their own constitution. I look at it as, from the beginning, what Creek people were, who we were, where we come from, and anybody who ever came into our nation. I mean, even on our rolls now, go back to the Dawes rolls, we had Mexicans on our rolls, we had adopted whites, and then of course the Freedmen rolls. But when you go to the Dawes rolls and look into that history, that was a mess in itself. There was no Bureau of Vital Statistics, there was no official birth certificates. What you had were people going around asking questions, and most of them back then, the Freedmen, they did live around Creek people, they did speak our language, so that's how they identified themselves. Now, they might not be born to a Creek parent, but that's just what they told them, and there was really no investigation into that. That's in, you can look that up, and that's how they formed these roles. And it was no secret that outsiders, they wanted to be on these roles, because when it went from the breakup of our communal land to individual allotments, that's why they formed the rolls. And people wanted to know, how can I get this land? How can, we got 160 acres, 40-acre homestead, and 120-acre surplus land. But even on those rolls, there's errors. I've built a database for the tribe at one time, and to be an enrolled citizen, we have to prove by blood. So there can be no holes in our ancestry. If you're missing birth certificates, then you're not going to be able to be enrolled. And when you look at the Freedmen census cards, you will see errors on their census cards. There's question marks by their parents, and then all of a sudden it's listed Creek as their citizenship. But if that was our case in our genealogy, we would not be able to be enrolled. So no, that's just some more errors with that came along with the whole Dawes Commission, the rolls, and but in the end, I would like to see our Constitution upheld, the 1979, even though there's errors in that. There's even, you look at this U.S. Constitution, there's still debating different laws that have stood since 1776. During the Dawes Commission at one time, our National Council did issue a resolution stating that they didn't think that the Allotment Act was in the best interest of Creek people. And I personally would like to see our council do the same on this lawsuit, because I don't think it's in the best interest of our nation to add all these citizens. I like it how it is. Citizen by blood. We all have to go through that process. And even back during the Dawes days, there was, full-blood Creeks who missed out on citizenship, and I'm sure there was some freedmen, who did have Creek blood who probably missed out on it too. But that was 156 years ago. They did get land. They received a lot of land, and I'd just like to see our 1979 Constitution upheld. It's still premature. As far as we know, they have not been served yet. We've kind of read over the case file that they filed. I did contact the nation about it, and the word I received was that they will challenge the suit. And there are other tribal nations who freedmen have won the case, and they do have citizenship. The Seminole Nation, they were the first ones, and then recently the Cherokee Nation. And now in 2018, the freedmen are filing against the Creek Nation. But the word was RAG will challenge the suit, and that was good news. I was happy to hear that, and we'll be paying attention, and we'll see what happens. I'm not a lawyer, so all I can do is I hope that anyone ruling on this, whatever federal judge gets this case, I would hope they would listen to us and realize that our sovereignty is based on our heritage, and this would change that in so many ways. We could go on about that for a while, but true sovereignty is being able to make our own constitution, pass our own laws, and even nowadays, a non-native can take me to tribal court and sue me, and they have, and they won. Can I take a non-Creek to our tribal court? No. Can our light horse arrest a non-native? No, they can't. So to me, there is no sovereignty. There's a limited sovereignty that we have, but it's not true sovereignty. And I think if this 1866 Constitution, or the articles that they're using, if those are upheld, I think it would just be another kind of historical trend that's been going. We've always had land taken. We've always had our rights given to us through the U.S. However you want to put it, bureaucratic imperialism through. So yeah, we'll see what happens. The way I look at it is not really like that. Like it's nothing against anyone black or anything like that. I just look at it as this form of tribal government was thrown on us. It's something it's just what we have. We could replace all of it, and I'd be fine with that. But that's not going to happen. And like I said, we have our citizenship requirements. Here we are. This Constitution was passed in 1979. To me, the freedmen, once they were freed, they were no longer, they were kind of their own people in a sense. Nowadays, people aren't, I don't see it as them being born into freedmanship, or however you want to put it. We are, though, we're born with tribal ties, or however you want to say it. We're born with clans, or everyone that's Creek has a town that they belong to, and to me that's what federal recognition is based on, that an individual tribe has their language. They have unique ways which are different from other tribes, and so that's the way I look at it. It's not anything against them. The ones that do have Creek blood, let them in, you know, because we don't have a blood quantum requirement to be in our tribe, and that's something we've all had to do to get citizenship. I mean, I was originally enrolled in Alabama Quasarty, and before the Creek Nation, and there was errors, and so they booted me off their rolls, and so I'm in the Creek Nation. So yeah, that's one thing that I think anyone that's against it, it's not a racist thing. I would hope they don't look at us like that. And to make it, I'm not going to make one of those generic statements. People say, well, I got black friends and this, and you know, but yeah, it's nothing against anyone personally. It's what we have. This is our Constitution. This is our tribal form of government that we have. So we got to do the best we can with it, and that's the way I see it. You know? A lot of the comments and things on social media and posts, and even some of the documents that I've read, it kind of makes it seem like the whole tribe were slave owners, and that's inaccurate. All my grandparents were full-blood Creek except for one. We were not slave owners. And a lot of families were not, and I would hope that's something that that the public knows, that not all of us were slave owners. And historically, it never mattered, even during the Creek War or whenever the Civil War, when Creeks were involved, everyone was punished. Even in the Creek War, our own people fought against us, but after the Creek War ended in the Treaty of Fort Jackson, we all got punished, and even the ones that fought for the U.S. And the same with the Civil War. It didn't matter that some fought for the Union, some fought for the Confederacy. Everyone was punished equally, and the same could be said with the ones that owned slaves. During the 1866 treaty, not everybody owned slaves, but we were all punished, and they were incorporated into the tribe through that treaty. So
I believe either way you put it, it doesn't matter which way he said, she said. Overall, to me, a descendant of the Freedmen, or even back then the Freedmen that are listed on the rolls, no matter how you put it, they're not Muskogee by blood. My understanding, they were a part of, back then, tribal towns, living amongst those tribal towns, and obviously in the homelands, and came over to the Trail of Tears along with our people. I believe it was in when they started making the Dawes Roll, after the 1906 and after Oklahoma became statehood. You know, there was a long period between that time until '79. And so these, their grandfathers or grandmothers may have known the culture, Muskogee culture and language and ways of then, but the descendants today don't. And that's a long period of time between 1906 to '79. And then you don't hear from that until '79, and I believe in the '90s they tried. Early 2000s, some of the Freedmen tried again, and it was my understanding that Muskogee Creek Freedmen Band applied for federal recognition, and I don't know what the outcome was but I can assume that it was they were denied. I haven't heard anything since then. If they were approved, we would more than likely heard something today. And now they're trying again to become recognized as citizens of Creek Nation, not only citizens, but full citizens. You know, like I said, my deal on that, as a citizen of Creek Nation, I hope that the tribe, the chief, gets his team together and fights the case, and overall we win the case. I know the race issue has been coming up on the Freedmen side, stating the tribe is prejudiced and racist towards them. You know, there are citizens that we have today that actually traced through the Freedmen rolls to get to the Creek by Blood Dawes Roll. Back then, I mean, it still is true today, but when the Dawes Roll was created, matrilineally, if the father was by blood and the mother was African descent, you know, those children would have been listed on the Freedmen rolls along with her. We have citizens today that trace through the Freedmen rolls and prove that their dad was on the Creek by Blood Dawes Roll. So we do have citizens today that are citizens due to that. So for me, that rolls out the race card, and that answers whether Creek Nation is racist or not.
Well, my whole point on the situation is, for one thing, you know, our ancestors back then, you know, accepted them. You know, they were, a lot of them on the Trail of Tears, you know, a lot of them intermarried, you know, they had children. A lot of them are mixed bloods, you know, and it was kind of a, probably, I guess you'd say, an honor, you know, to be accepted like they was, you know. And to ask them to go use the United States of America that put us on the Trail of Tears, let's not forget that, to show proof, to go by their scale of, yes, you're an Indian, is a shame. It's a shame. You know, we shouldn't even have that ourselves. You know, here we are in 2018, and we're still declaring who's a native by their guidelines, you know, by their proof, you know. And here we are, you know, we call ourselves American citizens. I don't, but people call themselves American. They fly the flag at Creek Nation. We don't even know who we're a part of. We don't know who's the enemy and who ain't. And they sure ain't the Freedmen. We're trying to tell them who they can be a part of and who they ain't, which our ancestors done said they could be. And we're calling ourselves American citizens, flying a flag above Creek Nation that invaded us and massacred over 100 million of our people. And then they want to say, you know, it's about the veterans. No, 5 of my uncles were veterans of Vietnam. My grandpa was World War I, Korean. You know, that flag ain't got nothing to do with them. That flag, you know, represents 13 colonies. The stripes, the stars are a scoreboard as they took our land and invaded us, and took over us. Now we call ourselves a part of them. And now we want to tell the Freedmen they can't be a part of us. We don't even know who we're part of. And we want to use their system of, yes, you're an Indian, to make these Freedmen prove who they are. That Dawes Roll means nothing to me. It's just a number, just like the Holocaust. They put it on their card. We wear ours in their back pocket. I don't. I buried mine in my backyard, you know. I'd have burned it, but I might get some free cheese one day, so I might go excavate it, you know. Otherwise, I'd have burned it. But that's just a joke. But you know, to me, I talked to some of the Freedmen, and I don't see why you even want to be a part of Creek Nation. Hey, you're free, you know. It means nothing. You know, it's a Holocaust number. You know, is what it was in the beginning. Now we're still today using that and we got to look some of them are mixed blood, you know, and you can tell they are. And we're going to look them in the face and tell them, you know, Whooper DC said you ain't. You know, I know you are, but they got paper over there that says you ain't. You know, they can't prove it. You know, so we're going to just go ahead and just turn our back on you. That's not our way. That's not the Creek way. You know, one day we got to meet the ancestors, the one that we know is Creek, and you're going to face them, and you're going to pull your little card out, and they're going to slap it out of your hand. Did what you got. You ain't got a heart. Talking about want to prove who you are by blood. That ain't about blood. That's by ink. That's Creek by ink. Put that Creek by blood. That's Creek by ink, by their ink, their paper. And that's a shame that we're going to use that. That sets precedence that we acknowledge that they know, they decide who we are. I mean, we're so wrapped up in brainwashed like I say, we don't even know who we are. We got an American flag up there. It was flown over 100 million of our ancestors when they was murdered. Trail of Tears, same flag. And we pledged allegiance here, I heard, during the oak tree. The last one had a Pledge of Allegiance. Here, right here on this land. Right here where we came out of Trail of Tears. That's how mixed up we are. That's how brainwashed we are. That's who we are. I guess if you lose your card, you ain't Indian until you get back $5 and get down there and get you a new one. I guess you ain't Indian for that drive, whatever it takes, however long you lose it. You got laminate, sacred laminate, sacred card. That's what it is, what if we went to the old way? What if we said, okay, you gotta have scratches. There's my card right there, scratches, still scratches. There's scratches from ceremonies. Not that card. But so many people now today, they flash that card around. There's I'm Indian, look right here, they're Indian. They gotta reach back here, to show everyone that they're Indian. And that's where we're lost at, and to me, it's just a shame that we want to go back to that. It's kind of like going back in the civil rights days. Here we witnessed this. At the beginning, we were savages killing us. We didn't want to be a part of them. We put us off in the reservations and everywhere else. And then the civil rights, that era. It's like that's what we're doing now. It's kind of like we're too good. I mean, I don't know if that's what you want to call it, but is it because of the cheese? Is it the cheese? I don't know. I guess it's the cheese. I don't see no problem with them. Putting them on the road, give them something. It don't matter. I guess we're fighting over cheese today. But at the end of the day, it don't look good. It don't look good on to our children. To turn your backs on them. That they're not good enough. Let's look past the laminate. Look past that number. We got too many numbers anyway. We got roll numbers, chart numbers, social security numbers, phone numbers, lotto numbers, DOC numbers, all these dang numbers. But just gotta look past that laminate and look at who we are as humans, as people. We're all brothers and sisters. And look past that laminate and let them be a part of us. They are a part of us through the Creator. But we've forgotten that. Now I guess it's about the casino. Ever since the casinos and money come involved, now you got tribes all over this country right now kicking out members. You ain't enough. You ain't enough. It's because you don't want to share enough. And it just goes back to just like our quarter. You got to be a quarter to run for council. And now they're worried about them going to run. And I ain't even thought about that yet. I haven't even thought about to let them run. This and that. There could be no negotiations. It ain't just a flat deal. And but we're already prejudiced against our own people. Divide and conquer. We divide and conquer ourselves now. That's how good they are at divide and conquering us. That now we use their system to divide ourselves with the people we know are our family. That might be chief. That might be Chief Floyd's cousin. He's gonna tell him he ain't Creek because America said he ain't. Knowing he is. That's a divide and conquer tactic. And they're good at it, and they're real good at it. That we do it now to ourselves, and that's a shame. That's a shame. Just like the quarter deal. I can't even run for council. But yet I'm a council member of Ojibwa. The Ojibwa Hickory Ground. They don't even ask for your card. They don't ask for how much you are. It's kind of I can run for senator. I can run for president. America treats me better. But I'm 4 different tribes, so I'm not a quarter of Creek. But yet America, I can run for senator and president. They treat me with more respect than my own tribe does. You got to be a quarter. It's about making money up there. They have got to the point where they think it's about culture up there. This ain't got nothing to do with culture up there. That's a money-making place. Culture's down at the grounds, ceremonial grounds. If you're talking about culture there, you're wrong. The mound, don't let that mound fool you. It's fake. And I'd rather have, 12 for Africans or whatever, Indonesians, anybody. As long as grandma's got a brand new pair of Jordans on, full tank of propane, a ride to the grocery store, and a ride to health care, I'm good. Rather than have 12, quarter bloods over there, and grandma ain't got no shoes on, grandma ain't got no propane, grandma ain't got no ride to hospital. I'd rather have 12 Indonesians sitting up there. Grandma got us all that. It ain't got nothing to do with that. It's about making money, But yet, that's the way we are today. Brainwashed and messed up.